guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another video. It's that time of the week again. It's Premier League predictions time. The international break is over. Club football is on the verge of returning and resuming. And I, for one, couldn't be more excited to welcome back club football and especially the Premier League back onto our TV screens and maybe in the stadiums if you're lucky enough to go for this upcoming weekend. Last time out, I had a poor weekend. Poor results show. I had about 4 points from a possible 30, taking my total up to 13 out of 90 so far this season. Absolutely dreadful. Fingers crossed for a much better week this time around. But before we get into all the talk and the analysis and predictions side of things on this kind of video, I'd like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. I encourage you all to get involved in the comments section as well. Use and abuse that section, people, with your thoughts, comments, opinions, feelings, but most of all, of course, your predictions on how you think each and every single game in the Premier League will go this weekend. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling down there. And without further ado, we're going to get on with the conversation ourselves. We're going to be talking about each and every single Premier League game to come up this weekend. And of course, there is no better place to start than with Saturday's lunchtime fixture. It is Arsenal against Nottingham Forest at the Emirates. And as you can see, I have gone with a very comfortable 3-1 victory in favour of the Gunners. Now, for the Gunners, I'm sure that they've been chomping at the bit all international break long to get back on that pitch, to get back to winning ways, especially after losing to Liverpool, a potential title rival this year, of course, in the way that they did before the international break kicked off. But they are going to be facing an awkward opponent, made even more awkward by the way of the actions of this club this week. For those of you who've been living under a rock and don't know the situation, Nuno Espirito Santo was sacked earlier on this week and was immediately replaced by Ange Postecoglou, a familiar foe to those at Arsenal, considering he was the former boss and head coach of Tottenham Hotspur, of course. So, you've got Ange Postecoglou there. That already adds an extra layer of incentive for Arsenal to win, on top of obviously trying to keep the pressure with Liverpool, trying to obviously recover from that defeat to Liverpool last time out, and now you have a former Tottenham boss in the dugout of the away end. But this is going to be awkward, because this is going to be a question of, is this the same Postecoglou that left Spurs, or is this a Postecoglou that has had time to look back, reflect, and maybe adapt and become a bit more flexible in his approach in the Premier League? If it's the same Postecoglou as before, Arsenal are going to have a field day. They're going to have a field day in terms of they're going to see Forest play a high line, which is something that they have not been used to since being in the Premier League. And they are probably going to exploit that freely and almost at will. If it's a Postecoglou who has changed and adapted, it could throw a bit of a spanner in the works for Arsenal in terms of they may be able to actually get something for that game. I hope that they obviously can. I hope that obviously Forest can get something from this game. But I have to be genuine, I have to be honest. Without knowing the full details, I'm going to have to assume that this is going to be the same Postecoglou that of course lost 22 Premier League games with Tottenham over the course of last season due to his stubbornness and his lack of flexibility in a tactical scenario and setting. So therefore, I'm thinking it's going to be Highline Forest. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be something that is going to take a lot of time to gel, or at least new players to help it gel in. And that's why I think Arsenal can exploit it and why Arsenal can go on and win the game. I'm going 3-1 Arsenal. I'm going for them to get a few goals, get back to winning ways, and just have that extra little bit of shot of confidence going into what is going to be a very busy period of the season for a large number of teams, but especially Arsenal Football Club. Next, we're moving on to Bournemouth against Brighton, and I've gone with a 2-2 draw, so I'm expecting goals galore in this one, and why wouldn't I? Bournemouth has started off the season pretty well. A couple of good results in the past couple of games, and they even gave Liverpool a good run for their money as well. 6 points from possible 9, including, of course, a big win against Tottenham before the international break. some good performances in there as well. And whilst it's all not entirely perfect, the vast majority of it is. And obviously, I know the international break can often throw a bit of a spanner in the works, and it can be a little bit of a momentum killer, and, you know, it can kind of stutter some teams, so to speak. I'm still expecting Bournemouth to do well here, but I'm also expecting Brighton to do well. I'm hoping that the victory against Manchester City before the international break was the ignition point, was the was basically the moment in which their season is going to burst into life and actually really kickstart. Big win, obviously, against Pep Guardiola's side last time out for the Seagulls. And hopefully they can kick on, because creating opportunities is not a problem for this Brighton side. Creating opportunities, they're good with that. It's just putting the ball into the back of the net. That's the problem. So that's why I'm expecting goals here. That's why I'm anticipating that it could be a goals galore scenario. And look, I wouldn't be surprised any which way that this result goes, whether it does go to Bournemouth or whether it does go to Brighton. So therefore, I've called it right down the middle, and I've gone 2-2. The points to be shared. But I am expecting a very, very exciting game of football when these two teams meet at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Next up, Newcastle against Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I've gone with a 2-0 victory to Newcastle. Now, it hasn't exactly been the best of starts for Newcastle, but I think that under the St James's Park crowd, with the utmost anticipation and excitement about looking forward to seeing their new front line and their new strikers in action, could propel Newcastle to their first victory of the season, and they've got a very good opportunity at doing that against a winless, pointless Wolverhampton Wanderers, who've had a dreadful start to the season, have come under the cosh a lot in the opening 3 games of the campaign, and I know they've had quite a difficult start. But at the same time, I don't know, man. I just don't see them winning this game. I've got to be honest with you. Newcastle should be the ones walking away with the victory. And like I say, maybe their new strikers will have a say in this game as well. I'm sure their fans are looking forward to seeing them in action. It's been clear that they have been lacking and missing a striker up front for them. So far in this campaign, they could have had a few more points under their belts already, if, of course, they did have one. But we all know the situation there, sort of. But yeah, Newcastle should win this game. Newcastle should get the 3 points, and Newcastle should get their first win of the season under their belts. Next, we're moving on to Everton against Aston Villa. And I've gone with a 2-1 win to Everton. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I didn't really have this one when I saw this right at the beginning of the season. Wouldn't really have chosen Everton to beat Aston Villa, but with the way that Villa has started the season and with the way that Everton has started the season, I kind of got to go with form here. I could see a draw. A draw could very well be possible, but again, it's another game under the new stadium of Everton, building momentum towards the big Merseyside derby next week. Jack Grealish is in incredible form already, to say that he's only been there for a couple of games with the Toffees. He's obviously going to be returning to face his old club, so that's obviously going to have some narrative there. But I don't know, there just seems to be something a bit disjointed and wrong at Aston Villa right now. And yes, that could obviously be put right in this game, and Villa could bounce back very, very swiftly, and you wouldn't put it against them, not only because they have the players to do so, but because, well, with all due respect, it is Everton, and if anybody's going to give a team confidence, it's probably going to be Everton, one of the many teams that can do that. But at the same time, I've got to go with the form. I've got to go with the form on this one. I'm going with Everton. I'm going with the home team. And I'm going to say that, again, Jack Grealish shines. And I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Everton, who have looked very good this season. It has to be admitted, even from a Liverpool fan. I hate saying that, but it's true. Anyway, next up, Palace, Sunderland, Selhurst Park awaits, and I've gone with a 3-1 victory in favour of the home side. Now, that isn't to say that this is a foregone conclusion. This Sunderland team have done very, very well. Probably better than what a lot of people were anticipating at the beginning of the campaign. 6 points from a possible 9, 2 wins out of 3. Very, very good so far for Sunderland. But their wins have come at home. Is this just a case of them making the Stadium of Light an absolute fortress? Them relying on their home form to help them stay up this season? Or could they throw a spanner in the works away from home against the Crystal Palace side who have started off the season very well indeed? Now, I anticipate that maybe when Palace start to play 2 games a week, maybe the thin squad that they have may start to dwindle a little bit. You may start to see them struggle for energy and struggle for pace of the game, and you know, maybe a bit of tiredness and fatigue may creep in to Palace's squad. So this makes this the ideal opportunity to get 3 points under their belts whilst they have a very good and favourable chance of doing so. This is not a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, I am backing Selhurst Park. I am backing Palace to get the job done in this one, and for Jean-Philippe Mateta in particular to get a brace in this game. Not under realms possibility for Sunderland to get something, but I'm backing Palace. They picked up a very good win over Aston Villa before the international break. They've been very, very good all season, even before that. And I am anticipating that Palace get the job done in this one. Next, we're moving on to Fulham against Leeds United. Craven Cottage awaits the arrival of the newly promoted Championship side, and I have gone with a 1-1 draw. The points to be shared, the spoils to be split amongst them. I'm intrigued by this one. It may not be the flashiest or most out there fixture of the entire weekend, but I'm intrigued by this one because obviously you've got a newly promoted side in Leeds that are going about their business. They've got 4 points from a possible 9, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss, consistently inconsistent or inconsistently consistent, if you like, in terms of that aspect. Still finding their feet in the Premier League, of course. And then you've got a Fulham side who are going to be welcoming in a couple of new signings that they made in the latter stages of the transfer window. So that's going to be intriguing to see what happens with them. Marco Silva still at the club, of course. You've got a squad that is still relatively together from last season. They've had an unfortunate start to the season. Probably could have accumulated a few more points, but haven't. Seemingly robbed against Chelsea in the last game before the international break in what was very controversial circumstances there. But they have a very good opportunity here. Like I said before, with Palace and Sunderland, it's a very favourable game for the home side in Palace. It's a very favourable game here for the home side again in Fulham at Craven Cottage against a newly promoted Championship club. However, Leeds are awkward. Leeds can make it awkward. Their fans travel in numbers. Their players can make it very, very intriguing. Daniel Farke is no stranger to the Premier League, of course. It's going to be a very intriguing game, this one. One that I, again, wouldn't be surprised whichever way the result goes. But I'm going to call it down the middle and say it's going to be 1-1. Points going to be shared. It's another point to the newly promoted side. So we shall see how this one goes. Next up, a massive, massive London derby at the London Stadium between West Ham United and Tottenham Hotspur. And as you can see, I have gone 3-1 in favour of the away side. This is going to be Saturday's lunchtime game, and I, for one, cannot wait for this game to get underway. You've got a West Ham side under Graham Potter who probably bought himself a lot of time with that big win over Nottingham Forest before the international break. Big win there, probably bought him a lot of time, probably eased the pressure a little bit, but that pressure could be very well and truly back on his shoulders if he is to get an absolute hammering in this game. Now, Tottenham have had a very good start to the season. 2 wins out of 3. Very good win on the opening day against Burnley. Very comfortable, very solid. And then a very impressive display against Manchester City, followed by... Maybe a shock is maybe a little bit disingenuous and maybe a bit disrespectful to Bournemouth. But I don't think a lot of us were probably predicting Bournemouth to get the win in that game. So, slight shock against Bournemouth in the 1-0 defeat there for Spurs. But they could easily get back on track here. It's a very good opportunity to do so against the West Ham side, who, probably struck lucky against Nottingham Forest in certain ways. Maybe got them on an off day, that kind of thing. Spurs on the other hand, they just couldn't finish their dinner against Bournemouth, but they have created a fair amount of chances this season. They scored a fair few goals, and they've also added to their attacking outlet as well in the latter stages of the transfer window. So again, there's going to be another layer of intrigue and excitement in that aspect to see those new players perform, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Spurs react after that defeat from Bournemouth. But a lot of intrigue going into this one, but I'm expecting Spurs to come out with the 3 points and get the job done. Next, moving on to another game that I've predicted 3-1 in. Brentford against Chelsea, and I've gone 3-1 to the Blues. Now, Brentford, awkward start to the season. Loss. Awkward start for Brentford. Still a lot of question marks over whether or not the new setup, the new players, the new personnel, new manager, that kind of thing will eventually work at Brentford, and only time will tell on that whether or not that's to be the case. And as for Chelsea, again, they may have rode their luck a fair few times already this season in terms of certain controversial VAR and refereeing decisions, but they have got 7 points from a possible 9, 2 wins out of 3, and their last victory against Fulham, whilst being controversial, was still a very solid win for the Blues. Enzo Maresca and his Chelsea side now go away to Brentford with Champions League starting on the horizon, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do manage to balance 2 proper games a week, which is going to be intriguing to see. But they should have no problem here. Like I said, Brentford have the opportunities to throw a spanner in the works. We know how awkward they can be, especially when they're at home, especially when they're going to be under the lights and everything, and we know how hostile the Brentford crowd can be on a night like it is going to be on a Saturday night, because this is not just the evening fixture, this is the late night fixture of 8 o'clock. So this one's going to be interesting for a whole host of reasons, but with Chelsea's defence being Robert Sanchez, I would expect Brentford to score, but I would ultimately expect Chelsea to continue what they are doing right now, which is creating a number of opportunities and eventually taking them. So I'm going with Chelsea to win. I'm going with Chelsea to score 3 goals, Brentford to score 1, 3-1 to the Blues by the full-time whistle. Next, moving on to the penultimate game on this list, Burnley taking on Liverpool at Turf Moor, and as you can see, I have gone with a 3-0 victory to my beloved Liverpool. Now, I really do hope this. I hope we have not witnessed Liverpool play poorly for the first 3 games of the season, but managed to come out with flying colours, beating a tough Bournemouth side, winning at St James's Park, which not a lot of teams are going to do, by the way, in my opinion, but winning at St James's Park, beating a potential title rival in Arsenal, only to lose or drop points to a Burnley. With all due respect, Burnley. I hope that this is not the big banana skin that could slip us up. I really, really hope that is not the case. On paper, it shouldn't be. On paper, this should be a very comfortable victory. And this should be the beginning of us not only continuing to win games, but starting to put together some good performances. We have won games without even being at our best yet. There have been flashes, there have been glimpses, but we've been nowhere near our best yet. This is a very good opportunity to be at our best and to also win a game, especially when you consider Champions League's on the horizon, especially when you consider there's big Premier League games that are coming up. Carabao Cup's also starting soon. This is a very good opportunity for us to really lay down the marker. It's a good opportunity for the likes of Hugo Ekitike and Florian Wirtz to continue to display themselves, and especially Florian Wirtz. If you expect that Burnley are going to sit deep, try and soak up some pressure and be difficult to break down, then Florian Wirtz's creativity is going to be drastically needed in this game. And fingers crossed, he can be the one to open the door and hopefully pick up where he left off in the second half of that game against Arsenal before the international break. You're also probably hoping that a certain Alexander Isak may play a part in this game. I don't expect him to start. I don't expect him to play a large part of it. I expect we continue to build up his fitness, and I expect him to probably get about 20 to 25 minutes, I would assume, in this game. Maybe even more, depending on how badly the game is going. If it actually does get that far, of course. But, having said all of that, Liverpool should have no problems in winning this game by at least a 3-goal margin. Hopefully it's going to be a good performance to boot as well. But yes, this needs to be a good performance and, of course, the right result to go along with it. Anything else will be somewhat disappointing. But yes, a big win and a big performance needed by Liverpool in this one. We must tackle this professionally and thoroughly, and not, like I say, let this be a banana skin for us to slip up on. Moving on to the final game, the main event of what I believe to be this round of Premier League fixtures. You have the Etihad as the battleground for the Manchester derby between Manchester City and Manchester United. In the blue corner, Pep Guardiola's City side, and in the red corner, Ruben Amorim's United side. Who will come out on top in yet another Manchester derby? Look, I've gone 1-1. I'm going to throw it out there right now. I've gone 1-1. I know a lot of people might be scratching their heads at that, but really, when I break it down, it kind of makes the most sense. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Whatever way the result goes, if it's City win, cool. They're the favourites. If it's a draw, well, I predicted that. But if United were to win, I wouldn't be shocked. Genuinely wouldn't be shocked. You know why? Because City have been quite poor at the beginning of this season. Big win against Wolves, fantastic. But following that up with losses to both Tottenham and Brighton, two teams who play somewhat differently, but still manage to exploit the weaknesses that still rely in that defensive area of Manchester City. United can exploit that. United can certainly exploit those defensive weaknesses. And not only that as well, but if you look back over the big games that Man United have had with Ruben Amorim as their head coach, drawing to Liverpool, drawing to Arsenal, knocking Arsenal out the FA Cup. I believe they drew to Chelsea. I could be wrong in that, but I believe they drew to Chelsea. And not only that, but they also beat Manchester City at the Etihad. Amad Diallo, injury time winner. In the big games, United turn up. Even against Arsenal at the beginning of the season, yes, they did lose. But on another day, with the amount of chances they created, they'd probably go on and win that game. Or at least get a point out of it. They play well in the big games, Man United. So don't rule them out. Don't rule them out of getting something from this game at the very least. It genuinely wouldn't shock me if they did. Really wouldn't shock me if they did. Obviously, they're the favourites. Obviously, City and Pep are the favourites. But imagine this. 1 win out of 3. 3 points out of 9. City's next 2 games are United and then Arsenal in the Premier League. We could be in a world in which, after 5 games, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City have 3 points from possible 15. 1 win out of 5. And they're then going to be on a 4-game losing streak. That could be a potential world we are living in, people. Now, I expect them to get a point. But it's mad that I'm saying that after the years of dominance and the years of success that this City team under Guardiola have had over the course of the past decade. It's mad that we're saying that. It's mad that we're even questioning this United side actually going on and doing something in this game and getting something from this game. But yet, here we are. It's mad, but it is certainly possible. Like I say, the defensive weaknesses of Manchester City could easily be exploited by this United side. And let's face it, they turn up in big games, like I say. So it is entirely possible. I wouldn't be surprised whichever way the result goes. I'm sticking with my 1-1 prediction though. I'm going to go down the middle, 1-1, draw, points shared at the end of the game in the Manchester derby. And there you have it. Those are just my thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys are thinking and feeling. Let me know what your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, what your predictions are for each and every single Premier League game coming up this weekend down below in the comment section. Use and abuse that section, people, and talk to me on all of that stuff and much more. And also, if you wouldn't mind, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. As always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Thank you all for your continued or even brand new support to the channel. It is absolutely appreciated by me. I love you guys so much, and I honestly cannot thank you enough for that. As always, I'm Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video, and I will soon speak with you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.